watching a film. I was watching a film on Glacier Vault, and I think it might have been Rick Darlington from Apopka, Florida.
Rick, yeah.
And he mentioned you, and I was like, well, he's Coach Howard's right here in our neighborhood. I might as well get in contact with him. So got in contact. Really happy that he had time, had the weekend open to come down and speak to us. You got another clinic coming up in a few weeks, I had seen. Is that right? Later this spring here?
Yeah.
Another clinic, so we can do a little practice run for you. But again, like I said last time, we're looking for a few little wrinkles to add to our double wing scheme and just some different things. And single wing was one of those things that I thought, again, a lot of similar stuff going on up front, some different action in the backfield. So again, that's why we want him here, and I'm glad that we got a couple other single wing coaches in the room here, pick up some stuff, and get some good information here. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Well, thank you. This is cool. I haven't heard RPOs yet. Haven't seen 3x1 or 2x2 or any of that other crap. Coach is close with his bubble check. But no, this is neat, and hopefully I'm going to be able to give you something. I'm not going to give you a single wing clinic as far as the X's and O's part of it. I'm super happy to talk to anybody that wants to. I just didn't think that may be what you're after as far as, because Coach had put down the spin stuff, and we're kind of known for full spin to fullback. But that stuff's pretty, I can spend an hour just on the footwork for the spinner. So I'm not going to go over that. If anybody wants to, we sure can. So I'm not going to give a whole lot of resume. That's our base formation I've got drawn on there, and that's put basically 6-inch splits. We are in double tight half the time, slot probably a third of the time, and then we're in lots of different overload formations. We'll be in 9-man lines, we'll be in an 8-man line. Anything that can cause a friction for the defense. But I guess to start with, what you need to know about single wing is, quote unquote, that shit won't work because it's not spread and it doesn't work anymore. It's like wing T, it's like all the old stuff, all that stuff. We don't see it on ESPN, so it can't be any good.
Yeah, I'll watch you around the battery here.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And, oh, I thought you meant me.
No, I know you got Chase.
Then when we went, I was at Sigourney Kyoto in Iowa for 27 years. The last 20, we started running single wing in 1987. And I was a wing T guy. I loved the wing T. Basically because at that time in that part in eastern Iowa, hardly anybody else was running it. We were 40 miles from the University of Iowa. Got to know, and I'm not trying to name drop, but got to know Kirk Ferentz really well when they first got there with Coach Fry, and he was the line coach then. We go over there and he said, well, what do you want to see about zone? I said, I don't want to see any of that zone crap. I said, I want your old film from when Evashevsky was here. And so I'd sit and watch the old Evashevsky and Davey Nelson wing T stuff. But I really like cycle football, where one play comes off another, and you put defenders in conflict that way. And we had a lot of success at Sigourney. And even in 2005, and we set the state record in Iowa what at that time was the 13-game record. I think we scored 691 points or whatever, 54 points a game. We were loaded, and we were good. It wasn't the offenses. It was part of it, but we had kids. And we had two dads in the bleachers at the Unidome in the state championship game, as we just won the third one in 10 years, and they thought we needed a new coach because this offense is not going to work. And we had just set the state record for scoring. So we're all facing this crap now. I mean, we are definitely in the ESPN generation. Coaching has always been a challenge with the experts in the bleachers, and now they get a lot more access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to watch how you coach football on TV. And they can watch the combine, and they all know about how to develop players and all this other foolishness. So that's just kind of got to be another issue. But when I went to Webster City, it was a small school offense that wasn't going to work at Webster City. But Webster City's 3A, and Iowa has 1A, 2, or A, 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, and then 8-man, then it didn't matter what size it is, and everybody knows that. X's and O's really don't make all the big, huge difference. My friend, Coach Ward, John Ward, who's out in Carolinas now, he calls single wing, double wing, wing T, they're contrarian. And John, he's a doctor of philosophy, but he's a hell of a football coach, but he's a really interesting guy to talk to. But they're contrarian offenses because we don't do spread and we don't do what everybody else does. So this is a neat clinic because this is kind of all contrarian offenses. Why we run single wing, I think the number one reason right there at the start for me, and I've always wanted to be this, but it gets more and more now. It's different. Okay? And Coach had mentioned Coach Darlington, and I've spent 2 or 3 different really fun weekends with Coach Darlington. He's a great guy. If you haven't seen him at Glacier or anywhere, he's in Apopka, Florida, and I think they've won the 8A in Florida twice in the last 5 or 6 years. They've been runners-up once. His son was just the second or third, maybe third or fourth string quarterback over here. He had a tremendously bad concussion on national television, first play of the game, or first game of the year when he was a senior at Apopka. They were playing Bern, South Carolina, and he got slammed out of bounds on concrete. And he didn't play the rest of the year. And Coach Bo Pelini honored his full ride. And otherwise, Darlington, his kid would have been a tremendous triple threat, spread type running, passing quarterback. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But Rick says either you better be different or you better be better. If you're going to run what everybody else runs, you better be better at it. Otherwise, you need to be different. And if you can be different and better, then you got a chance to have some special seasons. So we run it because it's a tight formation. We played 10 out of the 13 teams we played last year run spread. So what are they practicing against every day of practice? And when they come to play us, they aren't going to play against 3 and 4 wides. Now, we ran 3 wides quite a bit against Pella in the state championship game, and we did it to take 3 of their kids out of the damn box so I could run up the middle, because they were so dang good, and we just tried to give them something different. But we think we're going to be tight versus spread. Shoulder blocking is a huge thing for us. Our blocking schemes, as I watched the superpower and the plays you guys are running here, that's what we do. We went 3 years ago, we used to be gap on down. We used to have rule blocks, well, 1 for each point of attack. Now we call it severe angle blocking. We take a 5-foot or a 5-degree angle, flat step down. I'd be glad to talk to anybody who wants to talk about this later. We don't care where you line up. We know who we want to kick out, who's doing the kicking out, whether it's a guard or whether it's our blocking back, which would be that guy on that diagram that's lined up between the guard and tackle on the strong side. That's our blocking back. Some people call it a fullback. The guy, I should have done that first. You're going to figure out I ramble really bad if you're trying to follow anything. The X is what we call the spinner. And some single wing teams call that the fullback, some call it the quarterback. A lot of single wing teams, the old single wing teams, called the quarterback the blocking back. The guy that was up there by the line. So at any rate, one of those guys, either our blocking back or one of our guards, is going to kick out. Other than that, we're all blocking down and we go 90 miles an hour. And we don't care where you line up. And we can rep that so much better, so much easier. Our positions now become a little more flexible as far as we can have guys play different spots. We do have, without going through every single one of them a lot, we do have kind of personnel requirements. Our strong tackle, which would be the second guy on the strong side, that strong tackle needs to be pretty good. He pulls and leads our counter play back to the other side. He has quite a ways to run. He does some outside in trapping. If we get a really good nose that we're having a little bit of trouble with, we'll trap him from the outside with our strong tackle coming back in. And if we have one position in the offense that has to be able to block one-on-one, when we're in the slot formation, he'll have to hook a defensive end if we're going to run a sweep. Otherwise, everybody else is blocking down. So I think the shoulder blocks versus the hands, and hands blocking works fine for the guys that want to do it. Obviously, a lot of people are doing it. We don't. We consider ourselves, like Coach just was showing here with his presentation, a vertical running team. We hit straight up and down. Our holes open vertically, not horizontally. And if we get a tailback that wants to run to the sideline, and I had one 3 years ago, I said, "What in the hell are you doing?" "Well, I'm looking for the hole." So the hole's going to be right there. It isn't there yet because you're already bounced outside. The trap hadn't got there yet. Well, we win another game. He looked for the hole, and after that, he was looking for the hole from behind me, and he became a wide receiver. Because I said, "You got to slam your ass up in there. The hole will be there." We run straight up and down, and I am definitely Vince Lombardi. And we get a seal here and a seal here and run the ball. And yeah, that's one of my favorite old deals. My son gets so tired of hearing it. But we want to run vertically rather than horizontally. We run unbalanced, probably 90%. Well, last year we were 100% unbalanced until this clip I'll show you here in a little bit, the first series against Pella. Against Pella in the state championship game, we balanced them up. So we could get half of their good athletes on the side away from where we wanted to run the ball. And usually we are unbalanced. Most teams line up fairly well against us now because they've seen us enough. When we get into playoffs is when we get the weird alignments. We jump unbalanced and shit, all of a sudden we've got a 2-gap hole because somebody didn't move. And we also quick shift, which you'll see on the film. We come up in a little ball of crap right behind the center to start with, and when we say down, then we jump into formations. It's not, if you're familiar with Iowa, with the old quick huddle of Emmitsburg High School or what Ed Thomas did at Appleton Parkersburg, it's not right out of the huddle, it's from right behind the center. And I could sure talk about that with anybody would like to too. And just like I've already heard out of two different presentations, we're smash mouth. I didn't used to ever like that term. Well, that's coach cliche. No, there's a difference between spread philosophy and running the ball at you. No matter what you want to do, we're going to run the damn ball. And it's a mindset and something we really hammer with the kids. But those are probably the main reasons that we run it. I'm going to talk about identity for a program here in just a second, but the other reason we run it is because it's damn fun to run. I love doing it. Big problem with single wing is there are all kinds of different single wing offenses. We run spin with the fullback, so with a spin back. Darlington and Apopka runs predominantly power plays. He does some spinning, and we spent 4 hours in St. Louis in 2012, I think it was, arguing about the spinning. He said, "Well, you can't." I said, "Well, I'm going to do it however, you can do it however you want, Rick." I said, "I'm going to do it this way." "I don't think it'll work." I said, "Well, it's worked 3 times to win the state." I said, "Well, he does it a different way, and it works just fine for him too. The difference is his spin back runs 4-4, and his tailbacks run 4-4 and 4-3. I mean, he's able to do things a little bit what I consider sloppier, because he doesn't have to put the time in on it to be quite as tight with his spins. But there's half spins. There's something called T-cycle, which is off a jet sweep, and there's all kinds of different forms of single wing, from Nayland's from Tennessee and Bierman's buck lateral stuff that he ran at Minnesota back with Bronco Nagurski, and we've ran all of them at different times. We've always run the spin as our base. This past year we ran a lot of power. I had a 210-pound tailback and a 215-pound spinner, both of whom look about like me. They were not stud ducks. They were damn good football players, and we used what they had. And we ran, as well as that, we ran a jet sweep, which we hadn't done with jet motion. We ran that this year because our best football player was a 5'7", 140-pound wingback. And he's not little, he's short. He benches 270 and he has a 34, 35-inch vertical jump, and he hang cleans 240 on the bar. And I think last night he long jumped 21 foot in his first track meet. He's awesome, just a little bitty shit. He's a little Cambodian kid, and he is a great football player, and he is going to be really hard to replace. But next year, we probably won't run that jet sweep stuff. Next year, I have a quarterback who can throw it farther from here to the back wall. This year, we threw for, I think, 450 or 500 yards. We couldn't throw it. First pass of the first game was a 50-yard touchdown pass down the middle off play action. And oh shit, he's wide open, and bless his heart, the spin back, who didn't get to play the year before at all, he had patella tendon reconstruction surgery, didn't play at all, started as a freshman, missed half of his sophomore year with a dislocating kneecap, missed his whole junior year with a dislocating kneecap, and he passed a physical to play football the 1st of August. He had to pass his kneecap was fine. He had to pass a conditioning test. The physical therapist, because Drew she said his BMI is almost 30. What's happening? Well, yours is 36. Oh, well then he's fat. Is what you could have just said, he was kind of fat. But he is a tremendous player, and one of the biggest leaders I've ever had. He hits that first touchdown pass, and from then on, that's the only place we're going to throw it. And literally, his first 10 passes, we went to Clear Lake. If you're familiar with Iowa, Clear Lake's had a pretty good program in the past. One kid, Zach Lester, was made into a first-team All-State defensive back in the first half that night. He had 4 interceptions the first half. As Drew kept trying, and the guy was open. It was open because they were playing 10 in the box and the post, and he kept feeding it to him, and all he had to do was throw. It doesn't matter. Point is, we couldn't throw. And then Drew the spin back broke his thumb the 6th game of the season and played the rest of the year with a half cast on his hand. And so that really limited our passing attack, and we were able to get into the finals with that. So I guess the point of that diatribe was you can adjust from year to year, series to series, cycle to cycle by personnel, which is one of the other things I really love about single wing. And that we can adjust, and we're always going to have the spin be our main cycle, but excuse me, but we'll add other stuff to it, but that's kind of become our identity. I think that's another thing. Coach talked about the identity as they changed their program and became a double wing team. Sigourney Kyoto is known all over the Midwest, and in single wing circles, it's known all over the United States. There's kind of a little single wing fraternity now on Delphi forums and stuff. It's called the SK version of single wing. Well, so that got to be a big identity for Sigourney Kyoto. And even while that was going on, we still had dads that thought it sucked that we didn't throw enough. And we had years, I think we threw for 1,400 yards one year. I had a kid that's a Secret Service agent now who was 6'4", 220, who ran for 1,500 yards and threw for 1,400. We threw just fine when we had him. When I had the kid before him who was 5'7" and 135 pounds, we didn't throw quite so well, but we still were able to move the football. We've had one quarterback in the 10 years at Webster City that I would have considered a quarterback that he could have played in any offense, and he threw well. Past year we didn't. But when we went to Webster City, if you know anything about Iowa, back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Webster City was ass kickers. It was a town of about 11 or 12,000, had an Electrolux plant that had 900 jobs in it. It was a, thank you, it was a factory town, very blue collar, hard ass. Iowa was not in the playoff system yet as far as points and classes. It was still by conferences, and then you qualified into the playoffs. Webster City was by far the biggest school in the North Central Conference in Iowa. They won it practically every year. Then they go to the playoffs. And if any of you have ever heard of Harlan, they'd run into Harlan back when Harlan was in their heyday in the 80s, and that tradition was there. That's the parents of the kids I have now, and they were they expected to win. Well, Coach Ty, Dick Ty, is the winningest coach in history, state of Iowa. He just retired. He's 87 years old, and lives about a block and a half from me. He's in my office probably twice a week, and he's a huge pain in the butt and one of the neatest guys I've ever been around, because he went to school at Notre Dame when Frank Leahy was there. And Dick literally painted the helmets Notre Dame gold for years. He went out to Notre Dame and brought paint back. So I mean, he's got stories that are unbelievable. But Dick got ran out when two dads got on the school board who thought their kids should get the pass more. And so the winningest coach in the history of the state of Iowa got ran out of Webster City. And then for the next 12 years, he didn't have a winning season. So when I didn't have to follow Coach Ty, I followed 12 years of not winning. We went in there, and of course, then the big deal was, are you going to run single wing? That would be so cool. No. And I told a couple, I said, yeah, but we're going to run it. We'll see how cool you think it is in 2 or 3 years. And we immediately, we went to playoffs the last 9 years. We had success right away. It took 3 years for the rumbling to start. Well, don't you ever throw? Yeah, when we need to. I said, and when we want to. So we ain't going to do what you see on television just so you can say you recognize it. There's a reason why we're going to the playoffs, and it isn't because we're throwing the ball 35 times a game. And if we could, we would. So it became an identity. The kids love it. I don't give a shit what the parents think. And I guess I'm old enough now I don't have to. And I probably should be retiring anytime so I can get my IPers before somehow that goes out the windows too. That's the Iowa retirement system. But the kids bought in right away, and that has been built in then to our identity. Webster City has an extremely now soft culture and climate. It has changed a lot, and our school is very big on positive behavioral supports, where we reward them and give high school kids little rubber bands to wear around their friggin' wrists for being polite or being on time. It's for doing the shit they ought to be doing to begin with. And our kids are in that building all day doing this grab ass crap, and we have less than 40% of our student bodies involved in extracurricular activities of any kind. So they are in a minority. And the teachers pretty much pander to the other 60%, who are all jealous of the jocks and the athletes. And we went from 50 or 60 a year to, in the last 5 years, having 4 football players reported for any office reports, whether it's acting up or any kind of office referrals. So the kids aren't screwing up, so now that gives them another thing. Well, they just behave because of Howard. Yeah, no shit. Maybe if Howard was teaching the rest of them, maybe our school wouldn't have the damn office full of hockey pucks sitting in here all day. So the climate is different. And we lost 800 jobs, 875 jobs. In 2009, Electrolux went to Mexico, and the town changed. 2 weeks after that happened, we voted in a $13.1 million bond issue and built a new gym and 4 new locker rooms, because we promoted it very well, and we went after the people that would vote for it. We didn't try to influence the people who would be against it. And being human nature, most people stayed home and didn't go to the election. The people that were going to vote for it went. And of course, then the other ones, the next day, well, we didn't want that. Well, then you should have got your asses to the polls and voted against it, because you didn't care. And so the point of this, I'm really, what the hell he's even talking about? The point of it is, it's a different, the climate has evolved, and the football has evolved the other way. The football isn't soft. Our kids are awesome. Unfortunately, we've just had back-to-back. We went to the quarters 2 years ago, got beat out here by Sergeant Bluff Luton. They had a fantastic team. We got beat by them in the quarters, but and that year was 11-1. Last year was the farthest Webster City's ever went. We went to the finals. Two best teams we've had back-to-back, and we're probably going to have 60 kids, 9 through 12, out for football next year in a school with a enrollment of 525, and that ain't great. We have replaced the Electrolux kids have been replaced with ELL kids. We have a lot of Hispanic immigrants coming in now to fill the jobs in the turkey plants and the hog confinements, and they don't go out for anything. So it's a different environment. I guess the point of all this is we try to tie it in with single wing, and that we are a hard ass attitude. One of the greatest things I've ever heard, and I read it in the damn newspaper. And it was, because that's one of the internet's a horse shit thing, but it's also a great thing. And our newspaper guy can't figure out why I won't tell him a damn thing, and why none of our kids say it. Our kids now are great. It's company line. You know, oh, these guys, we respect our opponents. They're going to be tough. Every game's tough. It's one game. And that isn't what they want to hear. They want to hear garbage they can spin into something controversial. Well, other guys do talk, and of course you can go online and read it. It's tailor-made for bulletin board crap. It's awesome. And one of our teams we played in our district, well, we think we've really got it defended. We know that everywhere 51 goes, that's where the play goes, our strong guard. Well, all right, now you're right. Because every game so far this year, we've never ran him the wrong way once. And of course, the first play of that game, we ran him the wrong way. We're spun right down the middle of the field for 70-yard touchdown while their linebackers all chased 51. And after the game, they said, well, we knew everything they were going to do, all but a couple plays. The game was 56-6, I believe. And I've heard that for 20 years. We knew everything they were going to do. Well, great. That's one of the greatest things that we hear. We knew just what they were going to do. Yeah, but you couldn't stop it. And imposing your will is what we're trying to convince our kids of. And it's kind of on down there a little bit farther. You know, we've had a lot of years that I thought we'd won more games than we ever would have won if we weren't running single wing. Probably the biggest example of that, and God, I'm getting so damn old. This seems like yesterday. Hell, it was 22 years ago. Our first state championship was 1995. We played West Lyon of Inwood up here in northwest Iowa. Kyle Vandenbosch, if you've heard that name, was the fullback. LeVar Woods, who coaches at Iowa now and also played in the pros for the Cardinals, he was the tailback. And we beat them with a 91-yard, 17-play drive, scored with 10 seconds to go in the game. And there's a lot, I'm not going to go into all that. We never would have beat them running anything else. We beat them with a jump pass, 2 buck laterals where we ran into the line, handed off, and booted back the other direction, and a counter crisscross, a wing T type counter crisscross. But if we would have just lined up, we never could have beat them. We've won several games that I didn't, and 2016 was a perfect example. We've also had a couple games that were classic. It ain't the X's and O's, it's the Jimmy's and Joe's. In 2014, we were the number 4 seed, and we had to go play a 1 seed, Ballard over by Ames. We kicked the dog crap out of them. It was great. It was a great game, and the reward for that was we got to go to Sioux City Heelan. And we could have played Sioux City Heelan 20 times that year. We might have beat them once or twice. Usually the first thing I look for is where their best defensive end is, and we're usually going to run at them. They had 2 defensive ends that were 6'4", 210, 215, they both ran like deer. You couldn't run at them, you couldn't run away from them, and most of the rest of the team looked the same. And we moved the ball a little, but they kicked the crap out of us. So it isn't always the offense. You know, sometimes it does come down to your players. Now, I haven't given you one probably thing yet that you were interested in. And guys, anytime, boy, and like I also said, anything you want to go over, because I've mentioned severe angle blocking, that's a whole 2-hour presentation. That I'm going to show you some spin plays, that's a whole, you know, a day. So whatever you would, if you're really interested in any of the single wing stuff, I'll sure go over it. Misdirection versus power. Darlington believes the reason you run power is you get that extra blocker. That's the advantage of single wing, is you're playing 11 on 11, not 10 on 11. You're doing the same thing out of your power plays and your tosses when you peel that quarterback back in and lead. And I'm going to show you the first series against Pella, where I'll show you our version of superpower or toss, whatever you want to call it, where we're playing with everybody blocking. But power will get you at least one extra blocker. A well-executed spin play can take 3 or 4 or 5 guys out of play. Same thing with a wing tee. If you run, when you're in your buck sweep series in the wing tee with the trap, the sweep, and the boot, if you're executing it well, you can freeze guys all across the front. Now it eliminates the number of people that can pursue. Especially if you can throw a little bit. What got us last year was we couldn't throw enough to keep the safeties out of the damn box. So we were usually playing against 9-man fronts with 11 guys dropped in within 2 steps. Now, we did some misdirection stuff to try to offset that, but you had to be pretty good at sealing. But I guess that's why I've always believed in the spin, is because I think we can take more people out of the play. Before I go on to the rest, I'll show you that this is old film. This isn't filmed HD, but I want to show you what a great coach I used to be. If I can figure out how to run this. This is just some sweeps. This is our 2011 team that led the state in total offense, but this won't work in 3.
Click your arrows there and it'll expand that window up a little bit bigger. There you go.
This kid I spent a lot of time coaching. And Coach was talking about his kid that run 5 flat. This tailback, that kid's 6'3", 215, won the 100 to 200 and the 4x1 and second in the long jump at state. I did a hell of a job with this kid. And he is a fantastic kid, and it was such a sad story, and his mom was an absolute friggin' disaster. And he ended up not playing. He went to Iowa Central Junior College, broke his collarbone, and still had North Texas offer him after the first year to return kicks. And Mom wanted to go to Colorado because they had just legalized dope. And Keegan went with her. But at any rate, I just thought I'd show you what kind of a coach I used to be when I actually had influence on my kids. Now, you can watch. This will be the most entertaining part about this, was watching me play with this. Oh, what's that? I'm gonna get off of that. Now we'll go back to this last year. I've been practicing this crap at my desk all week, and I get here, and of course it's all gonna be different, which it isn't different at all, it's just me. Okay, now this is the first drive against Pell. And this is in the dome, and these guys have won 41 in a row. We're the 41st, because they've won 3 state titles, and there ain't no turds over here. These guys in white, and they are pretty. They come on the field, they look like somebody, and they're good. And the worst part of this is, I went to school at Central College in Pella. I know their coaches. They're great guys. It's really hard for me to have a hard on when I go in to play them. It was fun. The kids helped each other up. It was first class. There wasn't anything to bitch about. But we knew we were going to have to do something different. So what we did, this is going to be shifting into a balanced line. See if I can do this and freeze it. Okay, we've shifted into a balance. We've got twins out here. I don't know why they took and put him out there. We've never thrown a bubble anything since I've been coaching. Now, that's what we probably should have done. And this kid, this is the stud. This is our good wing back. But they did honor him a little because they had to because of him. This is the best lineman I've ever coached. We put in our nose, who typically doesn't play offense because he can't play both ways. He's in here at strong guard, and we put 51 back here in the backfield. And this is going to amount to superpower, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be down, down, and he's going to kick out. And there's the spin back. He allows the quarterback. He's going to lead through. And this kid who looks like my son, his name's Ashton High. He's our soccer goalie, and how the hell he's our soccer goalie, because I always thought soccer goalies were supposed to be great athletes. He's about 5'9", and weighed 245, and he looks like a walking sack of crap, and he is the best funnel runner I've ever had. And he's able to get through holes, and he can get squared up. Part of it is he does have a low center of gravity, because it's mostly in his bass, and he can get through, and he finds people. And we'll take and run a few of these here. This is the first play of the game. And not to bore you with this stuff. This tailback a year ago was a backup defensive tackle. He weighed 242. And he played the JV games, and he'd have 2 or 3 15, 20, 25-yard runs right off the bat, and he'd sit the rest of the half. And of course, he also has a daddy who was standing at the fence bragging about him and Robert smoking cigars and drinking beer, watching football on TV. This kid comes from absolute crap, which everybody has that. He decided, mainly because the tailback from the year before made fun of him and says, "You'll never play, and you'll never replace me." And the year before's tailback rushed for 1,900 yards, and he was the one that was 235 and got called for targeting 4 times. And he's a bitch. Robert lost 32 pounds. He come in at 209, and he is the best. Now, not athlete, because he sure can't hold a candle to number 9 that I just showed you. But tailback, reading blocks, setting up blocks, knowing this guy's coming and I'm going to cut off of it instead of just running into it. He's the best I've had. Unfortunately, he's also had 2 OWIs since football season. And he's taken our sophomore tailback with him, and we're dealing with that issue right now, which of course we could have a whole clinic about that and how to try to be an influence for kids. But Robert ended up being a tremendous tailback for us this year. Here's going to be the same play the other way. And these all aren't, and I'm just going to let this run for just a minute. These all aren't going to be great plays. Now here we are balanced up, okay? And that one wasn't great, made a couple of yards. We're in slot now. Little double handoff. Not much there, and that kid made 8 yards out of it. And as the game went on, of course, Pella adjusted to some of this, and we had a lot harder time sealing them off. Their pursuit really got to us towards later, and then we started spinning and running up the middle. There's going to be a spin play here pretty quick. There we go. Well, that's the first one, and they were really good at this. They chased, and this is an issue just like you guys are talking about. This is a backside guy chasing the pulling guard, and our center didn't block back. But I didn't complain about it. Our center never played one down of football until his senior year. And he was a kid, he was a backup tackle. And what I looked for a center, and I remember it was last March in the weight room, I says, "Chris, do you want to play next year?" "Well, yeah, I'm going to be out." I says, "No, do you want to get to play?" "Well, yeah." Of course, I didn't figure he was going to say, "Well, no shit, I just want to sit." And I said, "Well, then you take a ball," and I had a ball, obviously, and I said, "You start snapping this every night." "Well, I've never played center." I said, "I know." I said, "But if you want to play, that's where you're going to have to play." And we had one ball on the ground all year this year. We do nothing under center, so every snap, and we don't snap them all straight back blind snaps. We snap to the inside thigh pad and we're offset, and he has one to the spin back, one to the tail back, and one straight back. Without going into it too much, he has 3 different snaps he had to make. We didn't have one on the ground other than one that the kid dropped the first game he was playing with the cast, and he dropped it. So I didn't complain about his blocking because I didn't want the ball on the ground. And he did a great job of snapping, and he did get that block made here a little bit later. And they're doing a pretty good job playing off that. So now we're gonna come back and run right at them again. Oh, no, we're not. Oh, no, shit, we threw. I forgot. How could I forget this? This was a complete actually for a first down. Everybody says, well, why don't you pass more? Because that's about it. But it was big for a first down. If you can see one thing here, you can see the footwork a little bit on this left side here, the angle blocking, that they're all blocking down. There's the funnel runner coming around, and it's a 6-8 yard gain. Like Coach said, it looks just like a pile of crap. Yeah, but it's really hard for linebackers to find where the heck the ball's at. There's going to be another, yeah, here's a spin trap. This is a weak side trap. This is a blocking back doing the trapping, and our worst lineman, which was 55, who I'm pretty sure I could still play if I had to just compete with him. But he gets through the hole, gets in the way. And they haven't seen a lot of this stuff. And we're going to run one more power play, and then we're going to kick a field goal. So that's what's going to happen on that series. Let me show you spin plays here, since I'm supposed to be talking about spins. Oop, I got to get rid of that. There we go. Okay, some of these are a little farther away. This is off tackle power. Let me back up. And this is pretty classic, what you would call wing T blocking, well, since that's what you guys are a little more used to, but it's going to be the doggone it, guys, I'm sorry. It's going to be the front side guard is going to do the kick out. Now, in single wing, most of the time they do their trapping, almost all the trapping's done with blocking back. We use the guard because he's, like I said, he's as good as I've ever had. He's 6'2", 260. He was second in the state as a heavyweight wrestler as a sophomore. Tore his labrum at state tournament a year ago. Played football with it, and then the torn labrum got him. He was ranked #1 at Christmas time. He was still undefeated, and they said you have to have it fixed. You can either have it fixed now, or you can take a chance of missing some football. And so he had it fixed immediately. And his thing is, of course, grades. And he dicked around when he was a freshman, and classic split home. And Dad lives in Bettendorf, and Coach Howard is supposed to be Dad. And this kid liked to sit in my office every day with me chewing his ass. He's just like every bulldog I've ever had. Any amount of attention's fine, no matter how I get it, as long as you're giving me attention. And Cooper now, he's burnt, or he's got over that, but he burnt some bridges. He's got a 2.4 grade average for his core classes. Well, of course, he has to have a 2.5. And he's working at it, but he's finding out because this last semester, well, I got all C's and B's. Well, great. Dumping 2.0 C's on top of your 1.9 grade average isn't going to raise it very damn fast. So, but he is being recruited by quite a few right now. So he does most of our trapping, and we lead with our blocking back, comes through and seals the inside linebacker. Our wing back we use to influence this end, because when we run sweep, he'll go ahead and block it. We do so much. You can see the tight end blocking down. If they're any good, they're going to close. And we try to influence here, and once we get him to ignore that wing back, then this little wing back can hook him. And we come outside the sweeps. These are going to be off tackle powers right now. This is the first playoff game against Norwalk. This is that victory game, so this isn't a bad team here that we're playing. Some of these are a little hard to see, but that's a pretty good view there, the kick out and the funnel on it. And the down blocks, a little hard to see the down blocks. They're a little bit high. The tight end is 6'5" and 250, and he has a hard time staying down. Now, if we can get him to stay down here over the next 2 or 3 months, he's gonna become a tackle. So, and I'm just gonna, if guys yell out if there's anything you'd like to see, let me show you some trap plays, just so you get a flavor of what we do. Okay, this is, okay, this is in the quarters, this is again, or semis, against Glenwood. Glenwood is good. And this was the one team that was more physical than we were up front.
Yeah.
And this, I believe, I think that's Sanders, they're a good lineman that we're trapping. But we've been, this is the second quarter. So we've been down blocking, trying to run off tackle. And this kid's been getting down blocked by the tackle. Now, human nature to me is he's gonna have to step to that. Well, now he steps, now he's gonna get trapped. And this is just classic strong side trap play. I think the very next one here is gonna be for the touchdown, it's gonna be the same play.
They're low physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be strong side trap again. This is like Coach was talking about. Watch 55 on here. And this kid, his name's Zach Lucero, and he is one of our Hispanics that play, so I can't complain because he does play. And Zach during the day, he's probably got on 3 or 4 gold chains. He wears a great big Z with a cross in it for Zach when he's got his cross in it. He's got earrings in both ears, and he's got a rat tail down his back. He is Gangster G or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. And he is such a bad man. Watch him on this play. He's right here. There, I got him at the end. He usually got his hands up right away to signal touch. You go, every team's got to have one of those, man. You got to have somebody that can give you your signal so you know when you scored. And here's a good example. It's even hard to see how he gets through here. The main part of this to begin with is we don't double on purpose, but this ends up being a double team on the nose. And the nose goes back and takes care of that guy. He can't get to the trap. But the linebackers really can't see where the ball is. And by the time they figure it out, it's in the secondary. Next year, I think that will be a touchdown. With Drew, usually we had to call timeout and get him a blow. He had a 15, 20-yard run. Reason I put, this is Boone, and we had to play it twice, and they played us very well. They were tough.
See how the defensive back splits. That safety goes with one of the fakes. He takes him out of play. Linebackers do too.
And the guy that gave us a lot of trouble, this kid, this is the second round, or this is the quarters to go to the dome. And he had 12 tackles in this game, and and he knew we weren't going to throw it over his head. And he's down here unblocked all the time. And what the answer to me was, I told the kids, tighten up your damn fakes. And fake.
Yeah.
Because the big problem is sometimes they'll run this way. We don't run any plays where they just run to the sidelines. If we can get them to take a couple of steps into the line, particularly they were keying Canoeing so bad, our wingback, and he's going to take him out of the play. This linebacker, that kid's 6'4", 230. He was first team All-State, and he is good. And they were used to seeing us play. And I don't know what he's chasing here.
Yeah.
But he does. And of course, 3 guys catch him, but it still ended up being a big play. This is Dallas Center Grimes. First time they've seen us. They're a fun team to play too. This is Dallas Center Grimes again.
So there's that shift you're talking about right before the snap.
Oh, I'm sorry, pardon?
That, I just saw that shift you're talking about right before the
Why
snap.
did that go back so far? Oh, I see, we're back to the start of it. Yeah. Well, coach, now maybe we can do that. How come it won't go back to the scale? I know what you mean. Well, let's do this. Because that shift will be in on some of these, there shows the shift a little bit. This is the weak side trap. You've already seen that, and that was against Pella.
Coach, when you shift like that, do you find teams have a hard time aligning? Like they don't know how you're going to align?
Well, they'll get lined up with the base.
Yeah.
If we jump into like a 9-man line, or
Or overload or something like that.
usually the reason we're shifting is we'll take, because we call right or left for our line. So like our base formation is right. So if we call right opposite, our line goes to the right, our backs line up left. So we could have a 4-man front over here with our line, but have our wing back, blocking back, tailback all on the weak side. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
That's where we catch them. Most of the time, they're gonna get lined up correctly with the initial shift if we're just getting into our base formations. It's when we'll go like, we'll call hammer. And hammer for us is a 4-man front with spin back, blocking back, wing back, all sitting in a little tight pyramid, tailback, straight back, and we're running right there. We'll go hammer, split,
Yeah.
which will line up with a hole, a gap. And once they get used to, I'm always lining up on 73. And they're jumping with us. When we jump into that shift, the defensive tackle goes too, so the 3-tech goes with our tackle. Nobody aligns in that gap because they're so used to lining up on people. It might be for 4 or 5 plays a game is the only reason we're doing it. And that shift basically is for those 4 or 5 plays a game.
So you shift and then you widen out those splits and they just go with it and you got a big gap to just run through.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then you're screwed. But normally they do. I mean, it's, and we do, in some games, we don't do it at all.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of games, we don't run any misdirection blocking schemes some games. Show you one more of these, and then we'll do a little bit of counter. Time am I supposed to be done? Now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me show you. I would be remiss if I didn't show that little wing back. Okay, this is our counter play. Okay. There'll be better ones than that. Almost every play with this kid was a highlight, and this was 3 years of this. This is a good one. And I said, he's not little, he's short. Very powerful and awful quick. And he's fast on top of being quick. And I would, for us, and we run trap, sweep, or sweep and power, mostly power, we run sweep, next year we'll run more sweep, and counter, and probably the same thing you may find with wing T. People can usually stop 2 of them. They ain't got enough guys to stop all 3 of them. If they are, it's just because they're physically superior. Now I'll show you, and then if anybody wants to go, just go. Here's our main play, how we threw last year. Where am I at here? Play, okay. Okay, well, this is a good one, and this is Buck Lateral. This was the first Boone game. He was able to throw this with the cast on his hand. That's the hammer formation right there. And we've already ran 3 or 4 ISO blast plays right here. Now he's gonna run by, hand off to the spin back, he's gonna boot, and this end's gonna run a flag. Oop. Well, most of our passes were deep stuff. This is a team that's playing straight man and 10 guys in the box, and we just ran away from them. Want to get to the wingback passes. Block them back in the flat, pretty classic. Flood route. That's an end-around pass. If he had any nuts, this would have been a touchdown, but he aimed it so bad. Look how wide open this kid is, and then he gets caught because he had to wait. Plus, this kid that caught him is damn fast. We should have wingback passes. Okay, here we go. This ended up being our main passing. This is against Norwalk. And this is off our weak sweep with the wingback. Unfortunately, he was left-handed. And I think he completed 6 or 7 of them, and we had 3 or 4 that he ran. And he had enough smarts that if the guy wasn't open, he ran him. And sometimes it's hard to get him to do that. But this was a big one against Norwalk in playoffs, big touchdown. Same thing. Okay, I've rambled on a hell of a lot here. I sure appreciate you listening. I guess it's hard to believe. You know, I spoke at Dubuque a month ago at a single wing clinic, which was really fun too. This has been fun because it's smash mouth and running and kind of the same philosophy. I've coached 5 decades. In here, I feel like I'm still 26 or 27 because I get to be around kids all the time. The one thing I guess I would want to say is, boy, and I know you do or you wouldn't be here spending your Saturday, promote the game of football. Football is under frigging attack. They're using concussions, they being the people who don't necessarily care for football. Concussions are used as a bell cow. It ain't about the concussions. It's about American way of life and a mindset. It was really brought up to me a year ago. We were sitting out on after we'd done our speed training, and I spent a lot of time just sitting around, you can probably tell, telling stories and shooting the shit with the kids. And I said, guys, I said, just out of curiosity, who's the #1 movie actor in the United States right now? Iron Man. I said, that's not an actor, it's a character. I said, who's #1? I said, you know what the #1 movie is right now? And at this time, what it was it's Minions. And the only reason I know what Minions is because my damn granddaughters, I shouldn't have said damn, my granddaughters, I have to watch that stupid, despicable, whatever it is, movie, it hit them, and these little idiots speaking gibberish. I said, if you guys want to know why we have a hard time relating, that's who your #1 movie characters are. They're make-believe idiots. When I grew up, his name was John Wayne, and it's a little bit of a different culture, and football, we need to keep promoting it, and obviously the United States needs football worse than it's ever needed it, and hopefully we can save the game, because it is definitely under attack, and it's can be saved, but we can't just let it all be about concussions either. Game's safer now than it's ever been. because we have protocol. That's made it 90% safe.